We all make decisions every single day, right? From the tiny ones to the, well, life-changing ones. But what if you had a toolkit to help you choose with way more clarity and confidence? Well, that's exactly what we're going to build together today. You know that feeling, right? That knot in your stomach when you're facing a huge fork in the road, just worried you're going to make the wrong move. Whether it's a new job, a big move, or a major purchase, that pressure can be absolutely paralyzing. Look, for some things, like what to get on your pizza, a coin flip is totally fine. But when we're talking about the big stuff, the choices with real consequences, yeah, just hoping for the best is not a strategy. For those, we need a real, reliable process. Okay, so first things first, we've got to know the difference between a big decision and a small one. How do you even tell them apart? Let's break it down. So check this out. This basically splits all our decisions into two big camps. You've got your low involvement choices, the simple, frequent stuff like ordering more paper for the office. Then, on the other side, you've got the high involvement decisions. We're talking buying a house, hiring a key person for your team. These are rare, they're complex, and they take up a ton of our mental energy. Just knowing which category your decision falls into tells you exactly how much effort you should be putting in. All right, so now we know how to spot a big decision when it's coming. But what do you actually do? How do you tackle it? What we need is a framework. So let's build a simple process that can bring some order to all that chaos. So if you look at the business world, you'll see that managers often use a really formal 6-step process, kind of like this one. It's super thorough. It starts way back at just recognizing a decision needs to be made and goes all the way through to checking if it even worked. It's designed to take the guesswork out of high-stakes situations. But look, we don't need all 6 of those steps for our everyday lives. We can actually boil that whole expert process down to something anyone can use. Just 3 simple steps. First, identify your options. Like, what are the real choices here? Second, analyze those choices. And third, and this part's crucial, make the decision and then actually act on it. Now that second step, analyze, that's where most of us get stuck, right? So let's look at some tools to make that part way easier. Okay, so this is where the magic really happens. Step 2, analyze your choices. To do this well, we need the right tools. We're going to look at a couple of awesome techniques that can take you from just a gut feeling to a really solid, rational analysis. So, to make this super clear, let's use a classic example that I think we can all relate to. Choosing between 2 apartments. So imagine this. Apartment A is cheap, a total bargain, but the commute to work is just awful. Apartment B, on the other hand, is beautiful, it's close to work, but man, it is going to stretch your budget. How in the world do you decide? Let's start with a tool you've probably used a million times. The good old pros and cons list. I know, it sounds super basic, but just the act of writing it all down is so powerful. This is your chance to be subjective, to really listen to your emotions. How do you feel about that long commute versus the nice kitchen? It's a great first step just to honor your gut instincts. But here's the thing. Our gut feelings can sometimes lead us astray. So our next tool is kind of the antidote to getting hijacked by our emotions. It's the point system. Here, we take those same factors, rent, commute, amenities, and we score them. So as you can see, apartment A gets a perfect 10 for being cheap, but only a 3 for that terrible commute. Apartment B is basically the reverse. And when you add it all up, suddenly a clear winner starts to emerge based on data, not just feelings. This is just a brilliant way to bring some cold, hard logic into the picture. Okay, but what happens when you've made the lists, you've done the point system, and you're still stuck? We've all been there. It's called analysis paralysis. So what do you do then? Well, let's look at a couple of really cool brain hacks to get you moving again. 2. Just the number 2. What's so special about it? Well, it's the key to our first trick. It's called the 2-minute diversion. The next time you feel completely overwhelmed and stuck, just step away. For exactly 2 minutes, do something else that needs a little bit of focus. A quick puzzle, a game on your phone, anything that gives your brain a little challenge. And listen, this isn't just a fancy way to procrastinate. There's actual science here. Research from Carnegie Mellon shows that while your conscious mind is distracted by that puzzle, your unconscious mind is still crunching away on the problem, processing all the details in the background. So when you come back to it, you often have this fresh, more insightful perspective. It's so cool. Okay, here's another awesome trick. Just step outside yourself. I want you to pretend your best friend comes to you with this exact same apartment problem. What advice would you give them? You see, studies show we think way more clearly and objectively when we're advising someone else. It helps us detach from our own emotions and biases and just see the bigger picture. Okay, so knowing what to do is great, but just as important is knowing what not to do. Our brains are wired with all these little mental shortcuts, these biases, that can totally lead us down the wrong path. So let's look at a few of the most common traps to avoid. First up is the big one, probably the most common trap of all, confirmation bias. This is our natural human tendency to look for information that proves we're already right. So if you've already fallen in love with that expensive apartment, you're going to start Googling articles that say a short commute is the secret to happiness, while conveniently ignoring your bank statement. The only way to fight this is to force yourself to look for evidence that challenges what you want to believe. Next up, we have the appeal to tradition. You'll recognize this one by the phrase, well, we've always done it this way. It's a trap that just assumes the old way must be the best way, without even stopping to ask if the situation has changed. You know, just because your family has always lived in a certain neighborhood doesn't automatically mean it's the right choice for you right now. And finally, let's talk about the ad hominem fallacy. It's Latin for to the man, and it's what happens when you stop debating the idea and start attacking the person who said it. For example, maybe your friend gives you some really solid financial advice about taking the cheaper apartment, but you just brush it off because you think they're bad with money. The advice should always be judged on its own merits, not on who said it. Okay, so for those really big decisions, the ones with major consequences, there is one last powerful filter you have to apply. Think of this ethical decision tree as your final check. Before you make your move, you have to ask yourself two simple questions. Is it legal? And then, is it ethical? Seriously, this simple check can save you from a world of regret. So after all that, what's the big takeaway? You know, making good decisions isn't about finding some magical, perfect answer that doesn't exist. Most of the time, there isn't one. It's all about having a thoughtful process. It's about looking at your options clearly, understanding your own biases, and then making a choice that you can feel confident in and stand behind, no matter what happens. So I'll leave you with this question. Now that you've got these new tools in your toolkit, what's the one decision, big or small, that you're going to approach differently starting today?